Okay guys, so in this video we're gonna have a little bit of fun and take a pretty detailed look at what are the most popular and presumably the best-selling reels in Japan. Now luckily a very popular Japanese tackle magazine has already done all the work, and I'm just gonna show you guys their results. Now unfortunately here in America there's no real way to find out the actual sales figures for reels, because as far as I know companies don't publicly release those figures. However, I think a great indication of what reels are selling and what the popular reels are is going to be the best sellers page on Tackle Warehouse's website. Now here's a screenshot of the best sellers page that I took today, and as you can see it's dominated by not only baitcasters but Shimanos, with a GARCIA REVO X and a LEWS speed spool thrown in the mix. Now I do find this a bit odd, as most people I see fishing use spinning reels. So coming in 10th place is the GARCIA Roxani. Now this reel moved up to 10th place all the way from 19th place last year. And in Japan, the Roxani is considered an entry-level budget spinning reel, with prices starting at $118 at Digitaka. So next up in 9th place is the DAIWA LEWS 2015 model. Now this reel was actually in 8th place in last year's polls, but a new model was released this year, which probably contributed to the drop in rankings. Now the LEWS is a mid-range reel for DAIWA that starts out at around $300, and I believe that goes for the new 2020 model as well. So coming in 8th place is yet another DAIWA in the Freems LT entry-level spinning reel. Now it didn't rank in the previous year's poll because it hadn't been released yet. Now prices for the Freems LT start at around $122 at Digitaka, so it's definitely, in their opinion, a budget entry-level reel. So dropping down to 7th place in this year's poll is the Shimano Complex CI4 Plus. Now I say it dropped down because in last year's poll it was actually 3rd place, and the reasoning they give is that the newer models were introduced. Now, the Complex is a lower mid-range reel for Shimano, starting at around $230 at Digitaka. So in 6th place, we actually have another DAIWA, the DAIWA Theory, which was actually the 2nd place reel in last year's poll. Now, the drop in ranking is said to be due to a lot of manufacturers releasing newer models, and the Theory, being a lower end mid-priced reel, starts out at around $206 at Digitaka. Now the next place reel is yet another DAIWA, and it seems like DAIWA is dominating this year's poll so far. So jumping up to 5th place, all the way up from 24th place in last year's poll, is the DAIWA Caldia. Now the Caldia starts out at around $170, so it's kind of like another lower end mid-priced reel. So the winner of last year's poll, the 2016 Shimano Vanquish, actually dropped down to 4th place in this year's poll, and that was attributed to the fact that it was replaced by a newer updated model. Now the Vanquish is a high-end spinning reel that sits just below the flagship STELLA in Shimano's freshwater spinning reel lineup. So the price is going to be high for this reel, starting at over $400. So here's a big shocker. Coming in 3rd place is the top of the line Shimano Stella. Now it actually moved up 3 positions from last year's poll, from 6th place, and this is shocking because of the price of the Stella, which starts out at nearly $600 for the very small 1000 size. So coming in 2nd place in its first year of release is the 2019 Shimano Vanquish. Now the magazine cites that the popularity is largely due to its very lightweight. Now once again, this is a high-end reel from Shimano with prices starting at $440 for the 1000 size Vanquish. So this year's winner of the most popular spinning reel in this year's poll is going to be the 2019 Shimano STRADIC, and this is the aluminum model, not the CI4 Plus model, and it actually wins this title in its first year release. Now they are crediting this win due to the fact that the STRADIC uses a lot of the technology as the top of the line STELLA, but at a much cheaper price, which starts out at about $190 on Digitaka. Now of course, the STRADIC is available as an American model as well. Okay, so now I'm going to show you guys a graphic of the remaining reels that were ranked 11th through 30th. Now as you can see, there were some reels that got votes that have long since been discontinued, like the 2007 Shimano STELLA, which I find pretty hilarious. And another thing is that most of the reels that made the top 10 are reels most of you probably have not even heard of. And this reinforces a video I made a couple of years ago where I showcased to you guys a bunch of cool Japanese domestic market reels that you never knew existed. Okay, so now that the spinning reel poll is done, it's time to do the poll that everyone's been waiting for, and that of course is the bait casters. Now coming in 10th place is the DAIWA ZILLION SV. Now the Zillion placed 6th in last year's poll, which is actually pretty surprising to me. And that's because I'm subscribed to quite a few of the Japanese fishing YouTubers channels, and I don't think I've ever seen any of them use a Zillion for fishing unless it was a review video. And also because I was told that the Zillion SV was going to be discontinued a couple of years ago. Now of course the Zillion SV has been available in the US market for a while for $300, but in Japan you are looking at prices starting at around $260 on Digitaka. Now jumping up to 9th place, all the way from 17th place in last year's poll, is the Shimano ANTARES DC Monster Drive. Now this is actually not surprising to me because a lot of the Japanese YouTubers actually use this reel even over the regular ANTARES DC. Now prices start at around $550 on Digitaka for this reel. Okay, so coming in 8th place is the Shimano Scorpion DC, and it drops down to 8th place from 5th place in last year's poll. Now having owned one of these since they've come out in 2017, I'm not surprised that it's still in the top 10 despite being over 3 years old. Now prices at Digitaka start at $270, but you can find it much cheaper if you shop around. So holding steady at 7th place in this year's poll as well as last year's poll is the Shimano BANTAM MGL. Now I personally would take the Scorpion DC over the BANTAM, but in Japan it appears that the BANTAM is slightly more liked. Now prices start at around $270 at Digitaka, and of course this is available in America for $350. So jumping up to 6th place in this year's poll, all the way from 12th place in last year's poll, is the standard Shimano ANTARES DC. Now I'm not sure why the big jumps in the polls for both the ANTARES DC reels, but there does seem to be a surge in popularity of these reels on the Japanese YouTube channels. So coming in 5th place is yet another Shimano DC reel, and this one is the METANIUM DC, which dropped down from 3rd place in last year's poll. Now of course the METANIUM DC has been available in America for like the last year or so for $500, but Digitaka has them for around $420. Now this is the final DC reel in this year's poll, but as you can see, the Japanese definitely love the DC reels. Now fourth place is taken up by a DAIWA, and that is the 2017 TATULA SV. Now it dropped to fourth place all the way from second place in last year's poll, and the TATULA SV seems to be a very popular reel around the world, and I wonder if the new 2020 model will be just as popular. And I think it will be, because I actually think it's a better reel, having owned both. Now on Digitaka, the price for the TATULA SV is $200, which is the same price as the American model, so no money saving by ordering from Japan for this reel, at least from Digitaka. But you can definitely find it cheaper on other sites if you search. Coming in third place in its debut year is the 2019 SHIMANO ANTARES. Now I'm not surprised, because any new SHIMANO will be popular in its debut year, but a true test is to see how it fares in the next year's poll. Now the ANTARES is also an American market reel that retails for $600, but you can get them much cheaper from Japan, and I've seen them as low as $406 on eBay as of today. Okay, so jumping up from fourth place in last year's poll to second place in this year's poll is a reel that I didn't expect, and that is the DAIWA STEEZ SVTW. Now I own this reel, and personally I'm still waiting to be impressed by it, but the Japanese anglers rank this reel very high. In America, this reel retails for $500 to $550 due to a jump in price, and apparently that price jump applied to Japan as well, because the STEEZ is almost $500 on Digitaka as well as other sites. Alrighty, so let's get to the winner, and this year's winner was also last year's winner, and more than likely has been the winner since it's been released, and this is the mighty 2016 METANIUM MGL. Now I can't believe this, because not only do I see a lot of Japanese YouTubers using this reel, but there are a lot of American YouTubers using this reel as well. In fact, I remember a comment left by a Japanese subscriber a couple of years ago that stated the METANIUM MGL is the best-selling reel in Japan, and this poll confirms it. Of course, the new 2020 model has replaced this one, so it's going to be interesting to see how the Japanese rate that new model in next year's poll. Okay, so just like with the spinning reels, I'm going to show you guys a graphic of the 11th through 30th place reels. And a big surprise for me, at least, is the reel that comes in 30th place, the SHIMANO ALDEBARAN MGL, which is one of my personal favorite reels. Now also the Scorpion MGL and the Scorpion 70 didn't fare too well either. Now also, as you can see, the top Abu Garcia was the budget reel Roxani down in 18th place, while the only other Abu Garcia to make the list is the REVO Black 9 in 26th place. Now also, the only round reels to make the list are the SHIMANO Calcuttas and Calcutta Conquests. Now this graphic also shows us that the SHIMANO ALDEBARAN BFS, which came in 19th place, is probably the best-selling bait finesse reel in Japan, with the only other BFS reel making the list is the DAIWA SSR, which I'm pretty sure is discontinued. So taking a look at all this information, there are definitely a couple of things you can take from it, and the first thing is that it doesn't matter whether it's in the United States or Japan or wherever, and no matter if it's spinning reels or bait casting reels, SHIMANO dominates DAIWA. So the second thing you can get from this information is that if you paid attention, I tried to include the price of each reel, and this shows us that the Japanese definitely care more about quality and performance and are willing to pay more for it instead of prioritizing the price. Now, this is a lot different than here in America, where, you know, a lot of guys will go into major debt to get a bass boat and some expensive electronics, but then they scoff at paying over $100 for a reel. Now, I think a major part of this is the fact that probably 99% of Japanese anglers don't have a boat, so they are fishing from shore. Also, the amount of big legs to fish in Japan is very, very small compared to the United States. And pretty much all of the Japanese YouTubers I watch fish in smaller ponds and rivers, and they pretty much just run and gun from spot to spot. Okay guys, now we know which reels are the most popular in Japan, and I'm definitely going to be checking out next year's poll as well, and I will share that with you. Alright guys, thanks a lot.